I stood on the stage for the first time as a motivational speaker on December 28th, 2010. This was the year that I began my speaking career. At that time, I had no idea that coaching and being a certified life coach, a certified youth coach, publishing books, becoming Dr. Nina, and so much more would accompany me as a speaker, but I'm so glad that it did. So I thought, since I've been in business for 15 years, I would share 15 things that I've learned in my 15 years as an entrepreneur. Now, there's been some times where I worked traditional jobs during my time as working as an entrepreneur, but most of the 15 years I've been a full-time entrepreneur. I've learned so much along the way, and I know there are many people who are still new in business and many people who are still working on starting their business. So I pray that this encourage you to keep going, to get started, to move out of your own way, to get some tips and some things that you can carry along your journey as an entrepreneur. And if you're listening to this and you say, well, I'm not an entrepreneur and that's not a desire of mine, I challenge you to listen anyway. Why? Because I guarantee you're going to get some inspiration and motivation to inspire you to do something different in the next 12 months, as this is the last week in 2025. And in just a few days, 2026 will arrive, right? And so we want to equip ourselves, whether we want to advance in our job, whether we're even retired and is at home, and maybe you want to write a book or do anything. Now, I know I said I was going to do a class on book writing. However, in celebrating 15 years in business, I did something a little different, and I wanted to do this episode first. But you will get your show in January on a class for book publishing. Plus, your girl's still trying to feel well, so I need a little bit of grace. But I promise you, you will get that class. So let's go through 15 things that I've learned that could help someone else along the way. Now, I think this show right here is for this special time. So grab your pen and paper, okay? I want you to grab your pen and paper because I want you to get all the notes and I want you to get all the encouragement, and I want to make sure that you walk away with all you need to make not just 2026 great, but to make the rest of your journey, whether you're an entrepreneur, advancing in your career, or just want to be motivated. I want to make sure you get what you need. So welcome to episode 30 of the You Can Show. Let's get started right away. One of the first things that I learned was, even if you don't know all of the steps to getting started or to do or that it will take to get you where you desire to go, get started right away. I tell the story all the time about how I was at a Les Brown event. Do you hear me? A Les Brown event back in 2010. I believe it was September 2010. I went to an event at a theater in Chicago, and I saw Les Brown, I saw Tales Stovall. They were rocking the stage, right? And there was some other speakers there. I was sitting on the edge of my chair like I belong on that stage. They're missing me. I am the missing piece. I am the missing link. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to get started. And here it is 15 years later. And it was this year that I learned that the things that I did to get started and to get on that stage is the exact same thing that people that want to be successful in motivational speaking, inspirational speaking, the same steps that they took. Now, I didn't know that when I got started, but I'm so glad that I took the steps. I like to say that God led me, because he did. He ordered my steps. Those who have been listening to me, you know that I have been doing the last 40. I've been doing prayer salads and squats. And this is the same season that Nina Motivates was birthed, that I launched my business with the help of God. And I have pictures and so many different things of this time period. So If you're checking this out on YouTube, you may see some of the pictures slide through. You may see some of the things come up so that you can see what I mean about my first event, as well as being able to see just some of the different things that I've done, right? And so I'm showing a picture of me and Les Brown and me and Talia Stovall. Because what I did when I didn't know how to get started was I left that event and I went to my nephew and I said, I need a motivational speaking CD. And I thought of that because after the event, I went to some of the vending tables. I went to Talia's vending table. I went to Les Brown's vending table, and they had books and they had CDs and they were telling their story and doing different things. I connected with Talia. She actually became my first mentor. And then I went home and I said, okay, I got to write out my story. So I wrote out my story titled What You Can. Hence, I am now the You Can specialist. 15 years later, right? I wrote out my story and I talked to my nephew who was rapping and he still raps to the day. And I said, I need to get into the studio. I need to record a CD. And so he hooked me up with his producer. We went into the studio and You Can was recorded. I went to the next Les Brown event, which was in October, and I volunteered. I served. Listen up. I'm giving y'all the tips. If you're like, I'm someone that want to be a speaker, I want to get out there, I want to do the darn thing. I know CDs aren't necessarily out anymore, but YouTube is, audiobooks is, ebooks, so many different things you could do to get your voice out there. But at the time, CD-ROMs were popular. So I went and made a CD. I went and volunteered at Les Brown's next event. That's when I got to take a picture with him and different things. Talia became my mentor. She was his mentee. So I was like, listen, I got a mentor. I volunteered. I was serving. I was showing up. I created a product. I did these different things to get myself out there because I knew what I wanted to do. I may not have known all of the steps at the time and didn't even know that I was doing the right steps until, again, 15 years later, like, oh, that's what some of the top-notch speakers teach people to do. And listen, that is something that I am passionate about. Teaching you what I had to learn. And as I listen to a lot of inspirational speakers and motivational speakers, they're doing the same thing. So you don't have to recreate the wheel. I'm giving you the blueprint, especially if you are an aspiring speaker or aspiring coach. Definitely an aspiring speaker. Okay, so that's number one. Even if you don't know all of the steps, get started right away. Right away, right away, right away. The second step, speak up. That is the main way people will know who you are. Yes, you will need a website eventually and all of the bells and whistles. But in the beginning, people need to get to know you. People often, and you may have heard this before they buy what you're selling, they need to buy into you. They need to believe your story. They need to see your heart and your passion. They need to know that you are serious about what it is that you want to do, that your story matters, that it has a purpose, that you know what you're talking about, all of the things, right? That you're an expert in your particular field. So, for me, my story of You Can was perfect because I talked about growing up with a physical difference. I talked about the bad relationships that I allowed myself to get into and the different things, even going back to spending 14 hours in the jail cell. I told some very vulnerable things and I was willing to share what it is that I allowed myself to go through, but how I got through and how I changed my life, how God changed my life, more importantly. And so me sharing my truth, me being vulnerable, me getting out there and speaking up and sharing my story, God made me different for a reason. You know, back in elementary school, I may have been called Four Finger Nina. Back in elementary school and even as an adult, bullied in different ways. However, God did not allow those things to break me, but to make me, to build me, to give me thick skin so that I can get out there and I can help other people to stop doubting and believe in the God in them and to go after what it is that God has created them to do and to be. Had I not allow myself to say, hey, I'm going to record this CD and share my voice. I'm going to go back to the next Les Brown event. I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to pass out my CD. I'm going to get people to know who I am. I went and created an email address so that people could know how to contact me. I didn't have a website at the time because I was new to this and I wanted to be true to this, but I knew that I could create an email address and I could begin to connect to people. And just by speaking up, you all, I was able to begin to meet people. I started going to networking events. I started getting out there. I started everywhere I went. These CDs I went with me, and I was passing them out for free, no charge, right? And then I held my first event because I wanted to speak up in a different way. I wanted to share the stage with other speakers. And as soon as I put myself out there on social media as a speaker, I had other speakers, other growing speakers, come to me and talk to me and be willing to help me and also be willing to share the stage with me. And I wasn't afraid to ask. I was speaking up, y'all. Hey, will you speak at my event? I got Talia to speak at my event. I got a few other people to speak at my event. I had someone do poetry. I had different people perform at my event because I wanted to let people know that I'm a speaker and I could do this. I was the keynote and I had some dynamic speakers to share the stage with me. New. I remember I started in September with the idea. We're talking about December 28th. Okay. So we're talking about September, October, November, December, 3 months later. Okay. But I did it. I stepped out on faith. And then the very next year in 2011, people started hiring me to speak on their stages. I started creating events every month because I had to speak up. I had to get people to see who I was. I met so many new people. But I had to do it when I didn't even know what I was doing it. And I had to speak up and I had to even do some things afraid. Number 3, understand and know your why. Never, ever lose sight of it. To today, I think about my why. One, my why is because this is what God created me to do. Being the You Can specialist over the years, and we'll get into that, He has developed me and changed me. And in the beginning, I was Nina Motivates. That's it. I am Nina Motivates. I am going to motivate your socks off, okay? By the time you are done talking to me, you're going to be motivated. You can go and do something you never thought you'd do before, right? And that was my thing. But my main why is because God has a purpose for me to do. He wants me to be the first in my family to break and be a millionaire, the first in my family to show how that you can step out on faith and be what God has created you to be, even if it is not the norm. I didn't have to go and work a traditional job. Now I went to school. I got degrees. I went for my master's, my bachelor's. I ended up getting an honorary doctorate, but baby, I'm working that thing, okay? But I had to first understand and know my why because I am a chain breaker. I am, sent by God to show people that their difference makes a difference and that they can do anything He's created them to do. That is my greatest why. My why is to show people that God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore, that He performs miracle signs and wonders, that He loves them, that He created them perfectly in His image, that they were not a mistake, that their makeup, that how He made them was not a mistake. And so I had to understand these different things and these different aspects. And that's my biggest why. To break the barriers and break through what society said I would not and could not do. And to have more than I ever imagined. Because first and foremost, I know where the glory goes to. So put your why at the forefront of your mind. Number 4, do not be afraid to learn and to invest. I have invested so much. Okay. Now I want you to be wise on what you're investing in, who you're learning from. Make sure you seek God for that wisdom. But do not be afraid to invest and do not be afraid to learn. You don't know everything. Honey, I am still learning. I am always, every mentor need a mentor. Every coach need coaches. Every speakers need to find speakers that inspire you, that you can learn from and grow from, because that's what's going to help you to get to the next level. Thinking you know it all is not the key. Thinking that you could do it all is not the key. Okay? Do not be afraid to learn and to invest, but use wisdom. Let's go to number 5. Number 5, understand and know who you are called for. Yes, you may have an impact on a lot of lives, but God has called you to a specific people. God has called you to a specific people. Now, I have spoken at youth conferences, massive youth conferences. I have spoken at women's events, singles events. I've spoken at conferences. I have males that call me coach, but I'm called to youth and I'm called to women between the ages of 25 and 40. Now, how do I know that? Because God told me that. One, two, youth is that's my ministry, and adults, the women between the ages of 25 and 40. Although oftentimes, yes, I'm speaking to and working with women that are over 40, but that's my target audience. Because if we don't have a focus, if you don't have a focus, you'll be trying to reach out to everybody, and then you will be some of everywhere. I have been there. I'm telling you what I know, okay? Yes, we want to touch the world, and we can touch the world, but have a focus. That does not mean that will be the only people that hire you. That does not mean that other people won't know you exist. That does not mean that. It just means to understand and know who you're called for. I know I give hope to youth because I tell the story of being bullied as a youth and overcoming bullying as a youth and striving to be better than I thought I could be as a youth once I realized that my difference makes a difference and that everybody is different, but some people's difference is more visible than others. Once I realized those things in my youth, it broke through. And so now I'm able to go and encourage other youth the same way, to tell them that it's okay to be different, to tell them that they could step outside of their norm, to tell them that they could love the skin that they're in, to share some of my stories of how I overcame bullying, to share some of my stories of how I, tried out for the cheerleading team, even though people thought I was crazy for even doing it, but I made the cheerleading team, how I went to ROTC and I didn't let anything stop me, although I didn't have all my limbs to go to the Army. I tell these stories to other youth to empower and encourage them to step outside of their norm and step outside of the box and be different and make a difference. And when it comes to women, a lot of women that I work with, that I'm called to, they doubt what God has put in them. Because of a lot of times we don't handle those things in our youth. We carry them on as adults and then we get stuck. We doubt. We feel, no matter who you are, the greatest artist, the greatest person the greatest comedian, the greatest speaker, they have to encourage themselves every single day because doubt is always around the corner creeping. That's why my mission is important. That's why this is important for me, because I have to show, I have to go, and I have to tell people, I don't care what it is, what it looks like, you absolutely can. And then I got to help you through your tools and give you that accountability so that you actually go out there and do the thing that you were called to do. Okay? Number 6, do not be afraid to start over. Listen, girl, guy, whoever's listening to this, man, woman, boy, and girl. I felt like y'all my friends. You know how you be like, girl, listen, I have started over so many times across these 15 years, okay? I've started my LLC over. I have started my speeches over. I have started. Y'all heard me say Nina motivates, and now I'm the You Can specialist. Nina motivates. Nina motivates will always be my catch, but at the same time, God told me to elevate and to change, and He redirected me. You're not just Nina motivates. You are a specialist. You may change some things. At first, I was only the You Can coach. You may change some things. Don't be afraid to start over. If you got to start your business over, start over. If you got to start your career over, start over. Start over. And be okay with starting over. Number 7, do not be afraid to shift your focus. So there was a time where speaking had slowed down, but publishing had picked up. And now I'm in a season where publishing, it is not necessarily slowing down, but God is having me to put all gas on speaking. Like, go forward with speaking and coaching more than anything. So sometimes you got to shift your focus. There was even a season where I was just baking more so than anything, because I have a baking company, Nina Boo Sweets. And this is all in this season and this time. There was a season where my speaking became very comedic and Code Red was birthed. So you see how number 6 and 7, do not be afraid to start over. Do not be afraid to shift your focus. How it's all coming together. I was branded as the extreme entrepreneur because, hey, I was like, okay, God, what we doing today? What we pulling out of the hat today, Jesus? What's going on? Okay. And then when you're doing all of these things, you got to do number 8. Ignore the naysayers. Everybody ain't gonna believe in your dream and your vision is your dream and your vision. It's what God gave you. He said, write the vision, make it plain, that they may read. People gonna read it, but they may run, they may laugh, they may do all of that. They did the same thing to Noah. They did the same thing to Jesus. Listen, let me tell you. You gotta get some thick skin. God made me get some thick skin early on in life just by having a physical difference, okay? I had to develop thick skin because I was bullied, I was talked about, I was looked down upon, I was ran from, all of the things, okay? Things you wouldn't even imagine, all of the things. But it built me up for such a time as this, where no's don't hurt as much, okay? Where when people laugh and think and hear my dream and say, what? This girl crazy. She's talking about she's going to make $1 million in 2026. Is she even a thousandaire? Let them naysayers be naysayers, but what does God say? What did God give you? What did God tell you to do? That's what you focus on, and that's it. There is no what if it don't happen. It's going to happen because God said it, because he's put it in you. Stop listening to the naysayers. Matter of fact, get away from them. Get away. Number 9, trust the process. Trust the process, okay? Never, ever abort the process. There is no time limit on the process. But if you give up on the process, you will never be able to get to the promise. There's always a process, okay? 15 years in business, do you hear me? And I'm just now breaking through that wall. And yeah, because I am there and I hear the Spirit of the Lord constantly telling me, Nina, you're there. You're there. You're there. You're there. At times, listen, it's been plenty of times I didn't work jobs. I told y'all that, right? It's been plenty of times where I'd be like, Lord, I got all these degrees. Let me go get a couple jobs, okay? Because this right here is for the birds. And most of the time, he'll block it. He won't even let me get the job. I have my application in summer everywhere, and I won't even get the job. And I'll be like, Lord, I got bills to pay. I got things to do. I got a family. Jesus, come on. But never abort the process. I'm so glad I never aborted the process. I love social work. Yay. But I'm so glad I didn't abort the process because this is purpose. This is purpose. All right, number 10, because I know y'all, it be getting so good to me, okay? Number 10, do not do it alone. No business is a one-man show. Let me say that. The things and the goals and the purpose you have, God have community for you. Ask God for your community. Ask God for the people that needs to be in your life, to be placed in your life to help you get to your next. Ask God to give you strategic people in place to help you get to your next. And make sure you're a blessing to them as well. But don't try to do it alone. Okay, you could go alone, but it's going to take you long. But when you go further, faster, when you have the right community and the right people around you. Okay? Stop trying to do it alone. Stop trying to figure it out on your own. That's why I'm getting coaches and trainings and all of the different things, and then asking God who belongs on my team. Because I'm looking forward to expanding my team in 2026, okay? Number 11, take risk. Do you hear me? Ask, take risks. Try something new. Don't be afraid. You're going to have to take some risks. What if, on the positive end? Because most people don't take risks because they say, what if I fail? Or what if it don't succeed? Or what if it don't work out? What if it does? Because most of the time it will. And if it doesn't on the first try it again and try it a different way. Everything that you use in life, everything, the light bulb, the door handle, everything, I promise you, It did not work out the first try. They had to try different methods. They had to try different ways. Do you like riding on airplanes? Yeah. Go look at how many times it took them to build the perfect airplane. A plane that will stay in the air and get you from destination to destination. How many times did it take for the first car? It didn't start off as a car. It started off first what? People started off walking first. And then you had the different types of cars. And now you got cars that want to drive itself. Listen, don't give up. Take the risk. Try something new. I don't care if nobody ever done it before. You could be the first. And it's okay to be the first. Number 12. Surround yourself with like-minded individuals. Listen, baby. You want to surround yourself with people who are about that business, who God has ordained for you, because they won't let you abort the mission. They're going to push you into taking risks. They're going to pray you through and pray with you. Y'all going to pray with each other and push each other. All of the things. Ask God for that community. You're going to ask him for your people that's supposed to be a part of your team, and then your community, your like-minded people that you can meet with and strategize with or pray with or talk with or bounce ideas off of or just be with. Okay? Surround yourself with some like-minded individuals. If you're around all negative nannies, guess what you're going to be? A negative nanny too. Trust me, I know. I'm speaking it because I know it. Okay? Number 13. Remember, the goal has a goal. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. Remember, the goal has a goal. What does that mean? You may have a goal to be a speaker. You may have a goal to be a publisher, a writer, an author, a singer, whatever your goal is. Why do you want that? That goal has a goal. My goal, I want to speak on massive stages. I see myself in arenas. I see myself traveling across nations to speak life and to give hope and to move people to action. That goal has a goal, and that goal is to transform and change the lives of millions. In my lifetime, I want to reach a minimum of 4 million, really 40 million. Let's just go big or go home. 40 million people. But the goal is not just to say I spoke to 40 million people, but to transform their lives forever. To leave a stamp that makes them go hard every single day and to make them believe like they've never believed before. That goal has a goal. All right, number 14. Know that it will all come together in due season. You may go like the raging bull. I love using not the anthology, Lord Jesus. I love using the analogy, get my words right, of the raging bull. I used to work at Great America. And the ride, the newest rides at the time was like the Giant Drop and the Raging Bull and things like that. It was back in 2000. And when I worked at Great America and I worked on the Raging Bull, one of the things that I noticed was that, like, we would have to test ride the ride, right? And when you get on the Raging Bull, it goes up slow. It goes up slow. You look down, it looks scary. You may get frightful and all the different things. And then you get to a peak at the top of the ride. And it sit there for a second. It's supposed to make you fearful and things like that. It's a roller coaster, right? And then all of a sudden it takes off. It goes fast. It goes in circles. It goes twists and turns. You hear the screams. You hear the excitement. You hear the adrenaline rushing and all of the different things. And then all of a sudden it brings you back around. And that's how business is. A lot of times you have to understand that it may be a slow ride up. It may take time for your business to take off. But there's going to be a point where it takes off. It takes off and you can't stop and you got to go all gas. You got to go. Let God be God and just let God bless you. Let him take you through all the different hoops and loops. But it's going to be exciting and it's going to be wild. And then it's going to be some times where it may, chill and slow back, but it's going to be take off again. So you got to understand. You got to understand that it's going to all come together. Don't give up. And number 15, as we wrap up today, make sure God is your CEO. Now, I saved that for number 15, but y'all do understand that's number 1, right? You got to have business meetings with God. Yep, you do. He got to be in every business meeting by yourself and with people. You got to have that time with God because he will give you plans greater than anything and anybody can give you. Now, yes, you can use different assistants to bounce ideas off of and to make them greater, but let your plans come from God, because what you do for God will last. What you do for God will succeed. And I promise you, you will not fear. You will not fail if you trust God and allow God to be the one to give you all the plans. Because as he give you the plans and as you move according to the plans that he give you, you won't be disappointed. Okay? God is your CEO. You're the co-CEO, but he's the head. And he will lead you to all greatness. I pray you all enjoyed this show. I pray you feel motivated, inspired. I pray you feel like you can go and act because you have listened to the You Can Show episode 30 of brand new shows. Y'all, I did 30 brand new shows. I'm so excited, okay? You all have not had to have a repeat because God has done it. He has told me. He started in the beginning of 2025 preparing me for a radio show. And in June, when I had the opportunity, I was ready. I was ready because God had already been preparing me. That's why he got to be the CEO, y'all. Let him be the CEO. Let him take the wheel. And everything else will come to pass. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. I promise you, success is yours. I promise you, if God gave you something, he will lead you through it and to it. So as the calendar year of 2026 come in, set your intentions. Listen, don't give up. Get started right away and don't stop. Don't let anything stand in your way. Know that God has great plans for you and know that you will achieve every goal that he has set out for you. Whatever he has spoken over your life, it shall come to pass. Don't give up. Don't get weary in well-doing. Stay the course, for you will reap if you faint not. I am Dr. Nina Addison, your You Can specialist, and you have been listening to the You Can Show episode 30, y'all. Look out for some brand new guests coming in January. Look out for some brand new shows, some brand new inspiration. Do y'all hear how different I sound? I'm a different person. I'm in a new stratosphere. God has catapulted me. Y'all, some great things are coming down the pipeline. Make sure y'all check out my Linktree. My coaching certification class is back. Go ahead and sign up. Go ahead and check out my Linktree for that link to sign up and get more information. I have a video on YouTube that gives you more information, and I am excited to go into 2026 speaking more, coaching more, producing more books, more importantly, living out my God-given purpose so that I can help others live out theirs too. So make sure you tune in next week for the You Can Show, your daily dose of fire, fuel, and focus so that you can not only know that you can, but go and walk in the power of you can. I love y'all. Until next week. Bye for now. Bye.